Hello. Thank you for viewing this demo on the Ratebuckets tool. Let's get started. When a shopper searches for a hotel in your market, they will see a complete list of all the hotels in the market, not just your competitive set. Most shoppers will then make an assessment as to which hotel best matches their budget while meeting their quality criteria. As you will see, Ratebuckets is the first tool that allows you to see your price position the way that online shoppers do. As a result, Ratebuckets is the only tool that removes management bias from the hotel competitive analysis process. During this demo, we may jump around a bit, but don't worry, all the information will become clear and make sense quickly. We'll begin by exploring the Maps tab, which provides an overview of the market. Ratebuckets is a unique tool because it takes into account the pricing strategy of all the hotels in the market, which allows you to gain a better understanding of your hotel's rate strategy. To gather data for a market, we consider all the hotels in that market, except for those with less than 25 rooms or have no rating. When dealing with very large markets, we gather data for all the hotels located within a 10-kilometer radius of your hotel. In the case of a very small market, where there are less than 50 hotels, we may combine data from multiple adjacent markets to provide a more comprehensive analysis. Let's look at the left side of the screen. Here, you'll find a list of all the hotels in the market. On the right-hand side, you'll see the same list of hotels, represented geographically. The other information on this screen, including the different colors, will become clear once we explore the next tab. Anchored at the top of the Ratebuckets app is the header information. The market name is visible, and if you have subscriptions to multiple hotels in different markets, you can select them accordingly. If you have multiple properties within the same market, you can select the specific property name within that market. Here, you can see the date of the current report, along with a calendar that allows you to select previous reports. You can also see the currency of the rates. Here is the source of the data, which is currently Expedia. Also visible is the date of the previous report, which serves as the basis for identifying significant week-over-week market changes. Before we move on to the Ratebuckets tab, let me provide a quick list of the 5 new analytical concepts that you'll be learning about today. These concepts will enable you to better understand your competitive strategy than ever before. The first is Ratebuckets, which I will discuss next. The second is Strategy Zone. The third is Rate Quadrant. The fourth is Value Rank. And the fifth is Similarity Analysis. This is the Ratebuckets tab. As hotels modify their pricing strategies, they transition across various rate buckets, or categories of pricing. Put simply, they move through different clusters of pricing. Accordingly, we have assigned labels to these rate clusters, specifically, Bucket 2, 3, 4, and Bucket 5. Each hotel's daily rate is placed in one of these buckets. Every rate bucket has a range, consisting of a minimum and maximum rate. You should know that these boundaries are flexible and fluctuate regularly, as hotels constantly adjust their pricing strategies in response to market conditions. Therefore, the limits of each bucket vary on a daily basis. Each of the bucket ranges are determined mathematically using a machine learning algorithm. Once the rate buckets are established, we can examine the relative position of your hotel's published rate in comparison to the market. The current rate row shows the lowest featured rate. To distinguish the rate cluster to which each rate belongs, a color code is applied. You can locate the corresponding bucket and its respective color on the header. These same color codes are consistently used throughout. These colors will soon become very familiar. As you can see, this hotel mostly prices in the 4-star bucket. Similarly, the current rate bucket row indicates the bucket number that corresponds to your rate. Since each bucket encompasses a unique range of rates, we divide the rates in each bucket into thirds and determine which third contains your rate. Within each bucket matrix grid, you can view several statistics for every bucket, including the average rate, the most frequently occurring rate, the middle rate, the minimum and maximum rates, and the average rate for each third. Plus, you can also check out your rate bucket rank, which indicates the precise position of your rate relative to other hotels' pricing within the same bucket. Let's examine the daily positioning of the Grand Resort's pricing. Take a look at the rates for April 2nd and 3rd. With the rate buckets analysis, you can immediately identify potential lost revenue opportunities. Even though the published rate is the same for both dates, on April 2nd, it falls in the middle of the 4-star bucket, whereas on April 3rd, it falls within the 3-star bucket. This is due to the pricing range for the 4-star bucket being higher on the 3rd, because the market is pricing higher, which makes the same rate appear cheaper in comparison. Depending on the hotel's occupancy situation, mistakenly pricing at a lower bucket could result in missed revenue opportunities. The Grand Hotel appears to have a similar opportunity on the weekend. The Rate Buckets tool provides a clear understanding of where your rates stand in relation to the entire market, and simultaneously, how market movements affect your rate position. There is a wealth of interesting data on this tab, but unfortunately, we don't have time to get into all of it in this demo. But let's just take a minute to highlight a few interesting elements. 1 is the overall market analysis grid. Here, you can see the overall trend for pricing movement across all buckets in the entire market from the previous report. However, what's even more valuable is that the overall market rate movement strength indicates the dates when the rate movement strength is statistically significant, which means it's outside of the usual range. The next element are the arrows that you will notice throughout. These arrows indicate the direction of change for each data point compared to the previous report. Another key element is the time horizon. Rate Buckets is focused on the future, so it extracts daily rates on a daily basis for the next 180 days, as well as weekday and weekend averages, for up to 365 days. By scrolling to the right of any grid, you can easily identify where the daily rates end, as they are marked by a bold black line. The final feature that I want to focus on is the Best Rated subtab. In any given market, there is a specific subset of hotels that stand out from the rest for receiving higher ratings. In the Miami Beach market, which we are viewing today, there are 150 hotels, but 58 are considered best rated. Within this specific market, hotels with a rating of 8.2 or above can be classified as the best rated hotels. Again, the best rated subset is determined mathematically, using a machine learning algorithm. At times, you may choose to compare your property with hotels that shoppers would perceive as the best rated, rather than the entire market. Note that the results for the best rated analysis are often different from the entire market analysis. This is important because the analysis we will be exploring today will enable you to look at your hotel against the entire market or against the best rated hotels. You can view all analyses in the Rate Buckets tool relative to either the overall market or just the best rated hotels. Before proceeding to more analyses, let's revisit the maps page, which should now be easier to read. So now you can see that the color coding for each hotel is the bucket where the hotel most frequently prices over the next 365 days. You can also see the most frequent bucket for weekdays and weekends separately. You can also see the hotels that fall within the best rated subset. To search for a specific hotel, simply start typing its name in the search box. Now, let's turn our attention to the Strategy Zone Analysis tab. While the Rate Buckets tab displays your rate position in relation to the market, the Strategy Zone shows you how your rate position compares to your hotel's typical pricing. Again, you see your current rate and its corresponding bucket. The total market rank indicates where your rate stands in comparison to all the other hotels that are displaying rates on that day. As you can see from the top of the screen, this hotel typically positions itself as the 18th most expensive for weekdays and the 17th most expensive for weekends. By examining the frequency rank range average, we can observe the rate that corresponds with that average rank. For each day, you can see the typical high and low rate ranges that correspond to the range of ranks, where your hotel typically prices itself. Again, the data used in this analysis looks forward instead of historically. The strategy zone position row indicates which days the hotel's pricing is above or below the typical range. The upper and lower bounds indicate the rates at which pricing would be considered an outlier, given the hotel's pricing strategy over the next 365 days, if the hotel were to price above or below those bounds. For instance, if we examine the weekend of April 7th and 8th, we can see that this property has set its pricing at the high end of its typical range for a weekend. This makes sense, given that the pricing rank is 11 and 12, which is considerably higher than the average total market rank for a weekend, which is 17. The strategy zone analysis enables the pricing manager to determine how the hotel's pricing compares to its pricing sweet spot, and whether a change in strategy is necessary to improve or decrease its typical market position. Let's now look at the rate buckets and strategy zone data visually. The rate position graphs display every statistic, separated by weekdays and weekends. You can see in these bars that the size and rate boundaries of each bucket change on a daily basis. You can hover your cursor over each bucket color to view the number of hotels in that bucket for that day. By hovering over the price point, you can view the hotel's rate and rank for that particular day. You can also see the high, average, and low strat zone ranges. Hovering over each line reveals the rank associated with that range. You can select a date range to see future dates. Below are additional graphs that show the hotel's pricing versus different buckets. You can also unselect data to focus in on specific buckets. The next analysis tool is the competitive quadrant. Until now, we have focused primarily on analyzing price positioning based on rate. In quadrant analysis, we incorporate the hotel's guest ratings as a variable. First, let's examine this visualization of the market pricing. The competitive position graph displays the relative positioning of all hotels in the market, in terms of their rate and rating for each day. The large red data point is the subject hotel. You can see that the starting point of each bucket gives you a clear picture of the bucket ranges. To see any future date, you can select it from the drop-down menu. Now we move on to the competitive quadrant graph, which takes your competitive analysis to another level. In this graph, you can clearly see where the pricing and ratings of every other hotel in the market stand in relation to yours. As you can see, your competitors are divided into 4 distinct quadrants. Let's concentrate on the yellow quadrant, which consists of hotels that are less expensive, yet better rated. These hotels offer better pricing on this particular day and have a superior guest reputation compared to your hotel. If you hover over the data points, you can view the names of the hotels and their price difference compared to yours. The table below gives you the number of hotels in each quadrant for each day. You can see how the count of less expensive, better rated hotels changes daily. The 0 less expensive, better rated floor row displays the rate you would need to set on that day to match the lowest price from the less expensive, better rated competitors. Additionally, you can identify the bucket in which that rate falls. The following table indicates the dates on which the count of hotels in each quadrant deviates from the norm. This information enables you to quickly identify those dates that may require attention. For example, on April 9th, there are 7 hotels in the less expensive, better rated quadrant, which is more than the normal amount. To match the rate of the lowest priced, less expensive, better rated hotel, you would need to lower the rate to $287. If we take a quick look back at the strat zone, you can see that while that rate falls at the extreme end of the hotel's pricing range, it is still within the typical bounds. However, looking at the rate bucket tab, you'll notice that setting the rate at $287 would place the hotel in the lower range of the 3-star bucket, which may not help generate any additional revenue. As you can see, the quadrant analysis offers a more sophisticated way of assessing your pricing positioning than the conventional competitive set approach. The last analytical tool we'll discuss is the most customer-centric view of rate analysis. ValueRank shows you which hotel is offering the best value on any given day. The ValueRank sorts all hotels by the strength of their offer, given their rate and rating. The ranking is segmented by star classification. For example, by filtering only the 4-star hotels, you can see that for April 7th and 8th, the Urbanica Hotel is the best value in this market. While, on the following weekdays, you can see that the Esme Hotel is the best value. The rest of the 4-star hotels are ranked in the order of the value they offer on that day, from best to worst. If you hover over any of the ranks, you can see the hotel's rate. And of course, the rate bucket color is shown. To find any hotel, you can enter the name in the search bar. The ValueRank analysis provides pricing managers with an unbiased perspective on how potential shoppers might perceive their rates. The Ratebuckets tool includes several other tabs that we will briefly discuss. The Similarity tab shows the hotels that are usually close to yours on the competitive quadrant based on their rates and rating. In essence, these could be considered your closest pricing competitors. The Radar tab lists all of the prices used for all of the analysis in Ratebuckets. Here, you can also see the daily rate position for every hotel in your market. You can segment this data by several different filters to narrow your analysis. The Movements tab provides an in-depth analysis of how hotels move between different rate buckets. These tables are full of insights that will allow you to understand your market at a much deeper level. The Minimum Length of Stay tab displays the daily count of hotels that have a stay restriction. Finally, let's look at the 21 Insights tab. This is perhaps the tab that you will use the most. This tab combines all the essential data points scattered throughout Ratebuckets in one view. As you can see, all the core data points are here. Rate bucket data, market movement data, strategy zone data, quadrant analysis data, ValueRank data, bucket movement data, and MLOS data. The 21 Insights tab allows you to quickly understand all of the market pricing dynamics that affect your rate strategy. That covers all the major features of Ratebuckets. As you have learned, Ratebuckets is the only tool that gives you an unbiased perspective of your competitive positioning. With its innovative analytical tools, Ratebuckets allows you to identify opportunities that remain hidden from traditional competitive set analysis. Ratebuckets helps you avoid potential pricing mistakes, especially when the market changes. Ratebuckets is also the only tool that allows you to track changes in your market position when you change pricing strategies. Ratebuckets also gives you insight into the pricing strategy of all the other hotels in the market. But most importantly, Ratebuckets is the only tool that allows you to see your rates from the perspective of online shoppers. Ratebuckets is now available for every hotel market in the world. To be contacted by one of our specialists, please complete the form below. I hope you have enjoyed this brief demo. Thank you for your time.